Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is the 25th of October, about 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Welcome to our land use meeting and public hearing for today. If you'll all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Attorney Pratt, do we have certification of the agenda today?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Chris Pratt with the Attorney's Office. One item on your agenda this afternoon, the Piney Lake Trails Preliminary Plan Project File SB 2022-020. This item had published notice accomplished September 15th and signed posted notice accomplished September 9th. Both of these, this item has been properly noticed and you have jurisdiction to hear today.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt. Do any commissioners have disclosures for items on this agenda today?
No, sir.
And I have none either. Commissioner Thomas is not with us today, so it'll just be Commissioner Teal and myself. So with that, we'll move to item 2, our land use meeting agenda items. We have no items under land use today. So with that, we'll move to item 3. 3A is our public hearing agenda item, and it's Piney Lake Trails Preliminary Plan Project File SB 2022-020. We have Heather Scott, our principal planner, presenting for us. Hi, Heather.
Hi there. Good afternoon. Heather Scott representing Planning Services. The item before you is the Piney Lake Trails Preliminary Plan. Project number is SB 2022-020. Joe Rapella with Cornerstone Insight is here on behalf of the applicant. The applicant is requesting approval of a preliminary plan to subdivide a 335-acre parcel into 176 lots and 7 tracts. The lots range in size from 12,599 to 25,177 square feet in size. The intent of the preliminary plan process is to provide an in-depth analysis of the proposed subdivision, including a review of the design, considering the ability to obtain water and sanitation, identify geologic hazards, environmentally sensitive areas, wildlife habitat areas, sources of required services, vehicular and pedestrian circulation, storm drainage and water quality, relationship to surrounding land uses, and conformance with the master plan. The preliminary plan process begins with the submittal of an application. Following comments by staff, the request is forwarded to referral agencies. At the beginning of the referral period, courtesy notifications of an application in process are sent to abutting property owners. No adjacent property owners or members of the public commented on this application. Public notice is provided and the request is heard by the Planning Commission prior to consideration by the Board of County Commissioners. Douglas County and the City of Aurora have an IGA for road improvements along County Line Road. The applicant will continue to work with both jurisdictions to address the necessary improvements at the time of final plat. The Planning Commission heard the proposal at a public hearing on October 3rd, 2022, and unanimously approved by a vote of 6-0. No member of the public spoke in response to the application. The applicant described its community outreach with neighbors and how subdivision design aids in reducing community impacts. The Planning Commission asked a clarifying question regarding the proximity to the former Lowry bombing and gunnery range and the potential for any munitions or explosives on this site. Staff and the applicant clarified that the area with the potential munitions is limited and that a recognized retreat and report plan will be submitted to Douglas County Health Department prior to the start of construction. The site, identified as the Red Star, is located in the northeast corner of the county, south of the City of Aurora, and west of Elbert County. The PD, shown in the red outline, is located south of County Line Road between Piney Lake Road and Delbert Road. Zooming in on the aerial, the site abuts the Trails subdivision to the west, the City of Aurora's Blackstone Country Club subdivision to the north. Elbert County is located to the east, and the southern border includes Ponderosa East Subdivision, an existing rural residential neighborhood. The property was zoned agricultural with the inception of zoning in Douglas County in 1955. The property owner rezoned to planned development in March of this year. The Piney Lake Trails PD allocated 176 residential units and a little over 200 acres of open space in 3 tracts. This exhibit shows the proposed subdivision designed per the PD. Residential Planning Area PA1 is located on the northern portion of the site. Open Space Planning Areas OS1, OS2, and OS3 surrounds the residential planning area, preserving wildlife habitat and natural features, and provides room for wildlife movement. The open space provides a nice buffer to the larger lots to the south. Access is proposed along 2 points along the north, one at Blackstone Parkway and one at Waterloo Court, and one access west to Piney Lake Road. The applicant has committed to improvements to County Line Road and the intersection of Piney Lake Road and County Line Road. This is a view from the site, it looks northwest through the site. This view looks west through the site at the intersection of Delbert Road and County Line Road. This view looks southeast from the intersection of Piney Lake Road and County Line Road. And this last view looks north from the southwest corner of the property along Piney Lake Road. The approval standards for a preliminary plan request are set forth in section 403 of the subdivision resolution and listed on this slide. Staff's assessment of the approval standards are discussed in detail in the staff report. Staff has evaluated the preliminary plan in accordance with Article 4 of the Douglas County Subdivision Resolution. Should the board find that approval standards for the preliminary plan are met, the following proposed conditions should be considered for inclusion in the motion. Condition number 1, prior to recordation of the final plat, all necessary access permits, license agreements, and easements from the City of Aurora shall be obtained. Condition 2, prior to recordation of the final plat, the applicant shall provide cash in lieu of parkland dedication fees to Douglas County. Condition number 3, instead of prior to the recordation of final plat, the applicant and the school district agreed to a cash in lieu of school land dedication fees that will be paid to Douglas County School District at the issuance of the first residential building permit. If acceptable to the board, this condition should be approved as amended on the note on this slide. Condition number 4, prior to recordation of the final plat, an open space agreement between the applicant, Metropolitan District, and Douglas County shall be approved, executed, and recorded. Condition number 5, Colorado Parks and Wildlife literature shall be made available to both prospective homeowners and home buyers regarding the existence of wildlife in the area and how to minimize conflicts. Condition number 6, during construction activities within the development, the applicant, its successors, and assigns shall take all responsible care to watch for historic resources, paleontological resources, and other cultural, historic resources, and shall immediately notify Douglas County and complete the appropriate Colorado Office of Archaeological and Historic Preservation data management forms in the event of such discovery. Condition number 7, technical corrections to record copy of the preliminary plan exhibit shall be made to the satisfaction of Douglas County. And condition number 8, all commitments and promises made by the applicant or the applicant's representative during the public hearing and or agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon by the Board of County Commissioners in approving this application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of all such commitments and promises. Section 405.08 of the subdivision resolution sets forth the parameters for the board's reevaluation of a preliminary plan request as noted on this slide. This concludes staff's presentation. I am available to take questions on the staff report at this time if you wish. Otherwise, Jill Rapella is here with the presentation. Thank
Heather,
you.
thank you for that report. Any questions for Heather?
I have no questions.
And I have none either. With that, we'll open it up to Joe Rapella.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jill Rapella, representing the applicant. I have Robert Fitch with us, as well as Tom Clark. Rob is with Rick Engineering, and Tom Clark is with the applicant, Ventana Capital. Address 10129 Summit View Point. Heather did a great job, so I don't want to repeat too many of the same things, but we're here for, let's see. Okay. The on button. All right. There we go. We're here to go through the presentation and discuss the preliminary plan itself, which will include the open space, traffic, utilities, schools, schedule, the approval criteria, and the conditions of approval. We're seeking approval from the Board of County Commissioners. And as noted, the location of the property, literally the northeast corner of Douglas County, right in the edge, multiple jurisdictions surrounding the property. We did have the zoning approved in March of 2022. This slide is an important one I want to show you. Commissioner Layden, you may remember the Trails project that we brought forward 4 years ago. This project here was so successful in our outreach with the neighbors and the plan, the way that they loved it, and then working with Aurora to serve water, when we were able to acquire this property, we basically just mirrored the project. When something's that successful, why not repeat it and do it again? So the other opportunity that this presented was a continuity of trails, hence the name of the project, the trails through here and the interconnection through here, which will provide the surrounding community in Douglas County with these large lots, many of them have horses, gives them the opportunity to have a trail system that they don't otherwise have. So that was one of the driving forces of the plan. So here's the layout of the preliminary plan. It does comply with the PD approval in March, complies with the subdivision regulations, Article 4, and is consistent with the northeast sub-area of the comprehensive master plan. Oops, did I jump? So we are clustering 176 single-family homes. A couple things I want to note that we intentionally did on this plan. If you'll notice, there's quite a bit of open space in between the backs of all the homes. We wanted to, in the layout, make it feel that it was spread out. In addition to the end of these cul-de-sacs, when you open up the end of the cul-de-sacs, you don't see a wall of homes to the neighbors to the south. We were trying to be as sensitive as possible to the neighbors to the south. We're dedicating 225 acres of open space buffer, and again, central water and sewer provided by the City of Aurora. We do have a service agreement that was approved in January 2022. The open space will be maintained by a Metro District or an HOA, governed by an open space agreement. 2.5 miles of multi-use trails for public access, again, that will connect over to the Trails project, so we have an opportunity to extend the mileage on that. And then we'll have entry monument, trail signage, and benches. I'm going to kick it over to our engineer, Robert Fitch.
Thank you, Jill. Good evening, Commissioners. Rob Fitch with Rick Engineering Company, 8678 Concord Center Drive, Englewood, Colorado. Just a few words on some of the traffic and utilities on the next couple slides. As it relates to traffic, we have 2 access points off of County Line Road and 1 off of Piney Lake Road to the west. As a part of the public outreach and the plan development, we used to have 4th access on the easterly limits of our property on Delbert Road. However, we have removed that and still have viable access points as outlined in our traffic impact analysis. In addition to the access points, we do have plan development contributions and dedications. That's inclusive of the lane widening highlighted in the orange lines there. We're lane widening along Piney Lake Road and providing turn lanes into both Aurora and our development along County Line Road. We also have a 25% financial contribution to the future signal in the northwest corner. And then we also have a financial contribution for some design and construction ultimately of the County Line Road section. As it relates to utilities and public services, central and water sewer services provided by the City of Aurora under our executed service agreement. We will be pursuing utility plans under review by Aurora for water and sewer. And in addition, easements and licensing agreements will be taking place in the final plat. Stormwater and detention. The site generally drains from the south to the north. We're capturing developed runoffs into 3 water quality and detention basins to the north before they connect to existing infrastructure in the City of Aurora. And then you can see the drainage draw in the southeast corner is going to be remaining undisturbed with the development. We've also processed the application through the dry utility providers, Core and Excel Energy. South Metro Fire and Rescue and Douglas County Sheriff will be the public safety providers. As it relates to schools, we did process the application and coordinate with Douglas County School District, and as referenced, we have a cash in lieu land dedication equivalent to 3.723 acres to be paid at time of building permit. A little bit of look ahead for the project. We will continue the subdivision platting through the spring and summer of next year, followed by construction with anticipated home occupancy late in '24 with a build out in 2026. On the screen here today is just the Chapter Article 4, Douglas County Subdivision Regulations Approval Criteria. And then the staff conditions of approval, as also outlined in Ms. Scott's presentation, are consistent with what she has presented, inclusive of condition number 3, with the small revision of the issuance of the cash in lieu fees at the first residential building permit. So in summary, the Piney Lakes development is consistent with the Douglas County Comprehensive Master Plan. We comply with Article 4 of the subdivision regulation, and we're consistent with all the conditions and requirements of our approved plan development. So with that, we're available for questions and respectfully request your approval of our development. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that. And before we jump into that, let me just confirm that you are accepting all of the conditions as presented.
Yes, we are, as amended in Heather Scott's report.
Okay, great, thanks so much. So let me open it up for any board questions or comments.
Question to the applicant. So when it comes to condition 3, yeah, come on up, Jill. We probably need your response recorded for the record. But in terms of condition number 3, we have our amendment here where you guys are going to have the cash in lieu payment due at to the school district.
Yes.
At a building permit, as opposed to what we usually do at plat. I probably don't have to ask this, but I'm going to do it anyhow. This is worked out with the school district. They're in agreement?
They are in agreement. It was included in our project summary at zoning. We had a letter at zoning that they were in agreement with that. Steve Ormison represented the school district in reviewing development applications. He has since retired. There's a new person now in that position, and so we wanted to make sure that we circle back around with this new person and reaffirm at the preliminary plan stage that they were still good with that, and they are.
Okay.
And just for clarification, because we went through this on the Trails project, same request we had there, and I'm sure Commissioner Layden remembers. Part of our request at building permit, in our opinion, is a little bit more in line with statute. So it's always a nexus of when the impact of a development occurs, that money is supposed to go to the school district to then provide school services within that area. Sometimes if it goes much sooner, it doesn't necessarily get brought back to that community. So we believe that it's more consistent with the intent of the statute to do it at building permit.
Okay. That was my only real question, actually.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. So it looks like there were a couple of comments in the referral items, and one was fairly extensive from CORE. They had a number of issues and sort of an initial objection. It sounds like all of those items have been resolved.
Yes, they have. We met with Brooks Coffrin from Core Electric and incorporated his comments. We are undergrounding some of the overhead electrical lines along the westerly limits of our property, and then all new dry utility installations will be all underground in the subdivision.
Okay, great. And then it looks like, did anyone want to speak to there was Mile High Flood District had a battery of about 9 different questions. It looks like you've addressed most, if not all of those. I don't know if you had any additional commentary there.
No additional comments. We will continue to work with Mile High Flood District during the final design and the Phase 3 drainage study. The final plat application will be reviewed by them in addition to Douglas County Engineering.
Okay. Let me just ask staff, any follow-up from Mile High Flood District in terms of the responses from the applicant?
Heather Scott for staff. We did receive word that we will continue to work with the applicant and Mile High Flood during the final plat process, and also with, as Rob stated, their Phase 3 drainage report.
Okay. But any additional follow-up from Mile High Flood District following the submittal of the responses from the applicant?
No other follow-up other than they want to continue to work with us.
Okay. Okay. All right. I don't have any additional questions beyond that. At this time, it sounds like we have all the conditions accepted by the applicant as well. So I will open it up for any citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment or questions, either in person or online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comments.
Troy, thank you for that. I'll close citizen comment then and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
Well, this looks great. Great design, guys. Looks like and by the way, I mean, I remember, 20 years ago when the first thoughts were to get into this property and the areas adjacent, the old bombing range, and horrible things were supposed to happen. I take it none of those horrible things have come to pass, however. So I think it does look great. I do have a question for legal before I move forward. So we do have an amended, Chris, condition number 3. Is there a need to make a declaratory statement here during the motion?
No, I think the record has already, we've had clearly stated on the record that they consent to the conditions as amended here in the hearing. And so I think that's sufficient for us, that the motion subject to the hearings, to the conditions presented here at the hearing is sufficient.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor. Very much appreciated. If it does please the board, I do have a motion to approve the Piney Lake Trails preliminary plan because it does meet all of the approval criteria with 8 conditions as presented. Project file is SB 2022-020.
And I'll second that motion. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 2-0. Thank you very much, everyone. That is the only item that we had today, so we are, our next land use meeting and public hearing will be held Tuesday, November 8th, 2022 at 2:30 p.m. We are adjourned.